We have new satellite imagery to show you from Iran. Now, these are images of the Fordo nuclear facility today, days after it was heavily bombed by the United States. Some appear to show excavators at tunnel entrances and other machinery. As we're waiting on more assessments of the damage done to the facilities, President Trump today said he would absolutely consider bombing Iranian nuclear sites again if he thought it necessary. He made those comments as members of Congress received a classified briefing about the U.S. strikes on Iran. CNN spoke to several members after the briefing.
It's been severely damaged. Yeah, it's the enrichment capabilities that were taken out.
Are you concerned about where that uranium might be?
My understanding is most of it's still there.
I would say it's a substantial setback, and that was a first-hand, authoritative, and reliable account. That differs greatly from the low-confidence preliminary assessment that was leaked.
I was very disappointed that we learned very little about the inventory of high-enriched uranium. Very over-optimistic portrayal of what was and was not accomplished by this mission.
I'm almost sorry I went to this briefing because almost everything that was there is in the public domain.
Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts, U.S. Marine veteran Jake Auchincloss joins me now. Congressman, obviously there's a lot you can't say about a classified briefing, but where did it leave you on assessing what Iran's nuclear capabilities are now?
Anderson, good evening. Thanks for having me on. There's two dimensions that matter here. There's the capabilities and there's the intention. Both before and after that briefing, I believe that Iran's capabilities are significantly degraded. Not just their capability to enrich uranium, but also their capability to weaponize that uranium. And perhaps most importantly, their aerial defense capabilities, because for so long as they are naked in front of Israel and American air power, they can't do anything. I mean, they can't clear that rubble away. They can't try to reconstruct metallization plants without Israel or the United States just mowing the lawn again. The more uncertain question is about their intention. And here is where coercive diplomacy is going to be critical. Now that we have them in their weakest position in 3 decades, bring them to the negotiating table with one open hand and one closed fist, and get to a deal that ensures a long-term status of no nuclear weapon program and no funding of proxy terror forces.
How serious do you think the administration is about negotiations? The president made public comments the other day, sort of seeming to express some ambivalence whether an agreement was necessary or not. I don't know if that was trying to not, for some sort of strategic reason, he might say that, but I'm wondering what you make of that.
I think in foreign policy, we've all learned to put the president on mute and watch the actions rather than read the tweets. And I think the administration does want to have negotiations with Iran. I think the administration also wants to see negotiations between Israel and Saudi Arabia to expand the Abraham Accords and get to a resolution with the conflict in Gaza as well, and those two issues are linked.
What do you think needs to happen now in order to get negotiations? I mean, it does seem like there has to be some sort of framework, some sort of agreement so that inspectors can look at these sites so that we have a sense. I mean, are you confident that all that enriched uranium is buried underground, as the White House seems to be indicating or believe?
I'm not sure the White House believes that all that enriched uranium is buried underground. I think it's pretty well understood that some of that enriched uranium could be moved. But remember, 60% doesn't mean weapons grade 90%. It also doesn't mean that's weaponizable. And there's still a long way to go for Iran to get to that capability. As I said, much of that infrastructure has been destroyed. I think with these negotiations, you got to start by actually looking at it from Iran's perspective. It's one of the first things you learn in military officer training is flip the map around. On October 7th, 2023, Iran had scuttled an expansion of the Abraham Accords. It had Israel surrounded by 6 terror armies, and it was exporting oil to China, bypassing the sanctions. Iran felt pretty strong and bullish. Fast forward to today. Israel has gutted 4 out of those 6 terror armies. The other 2 are boxed in. Israel and Saudi Arabia are talking again, and Iran's military has been embarrassed on the world stage. And as I said, its aerial defenses have been wiped out, leaving it incredibly vulnerable. So we have to understand that perspective from Iran's point of view, from the Ayatollah's point of view. They are weak right now. Now is the time to engage in coercive diplomacy and get a longer and stronger version of the JCPOA, where you have, as you said, on-the-ground inspections, but also, and this is critical, also a deal that they will not be funding any of these terror forces in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen. Because if they do, we will sanction their oil exports, or we will actually strike their oil fields.
Congressman Auchincloss, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Out front now, Robert Kelly. He served as the chief nuclear inspector in Iraq for the International Atomic Energy Agency, has also studied and worked on Iran's nuclear program for over 20 years. So, Robert, you know more about what we're seeing on these images than anyone. Trump tonight saying that no enriched uranium was moved by the Iranians before the U.S. strikes. Now, that's not something we've heard from anyone else in the administration, but he's saying they didn't move it. They didn't move it because it's too hard to do it and it's too heavy to do it. But you sent us an image today from what's going on in Iran that you say undercuts Trump's claims. Can you tell us exactly what we're looking at here?
Yes, what you're looking at there is a 5B container, which is used for collecting UF6, highly enriched UF6. You can't put very much material into one of those containers or you'll have a criticality accident. That's the whole basis of a nuclear bomb, is putting enough together, you get an explosion. So those containers will hold at a maximum of 25 kilograms. They're not very heavy. You'll notice that the container has two handles on it, and one person can pick it up. If they're not very strong, you'll have two people, and the handles are there for two people to carry it away. You can carry it away in a car, and carry it away on a motorbike. It's not that big. So I don't understand quite why this is being portrayed as too heavy. If I can give you an analogy, if I had a faucet that was dripping water, which is what's going on at the tail of the cascade at Fordo, you wouldn't put a huge tank underneath it. You'd put one of the small container, a bucket. And when the bucket was full, you'd move the bucket out of the way and put another bucket in there. And so they're not very heavy, and you carry them away. They've been doing this for 6 years now, 4 years, excuse me. And so they're taking the buckets away all the time.
And also, I guess, I mean, I'm just doing the math on what we understand of 440 kilograms that they have. If you divide that by 25 kilograms, you said would fit in one of those. If I have my math right, then you only need 18 of them just to move the amount that. Yeah. Right. Okay, so that, to make your point there. Okay, that obviously raises the whole issue of whether they moved it somewhere else, which is obviously crucial for rebuilding a program. And now these new satellite images that we have here at CNN tonight, Robert, that show excavators and other vehicles at Fordow. That is the heavily fortified facility where we know that nuclear material was kept in bunkers deep underneath the mountain, right? You see a lot of significance in these images. Specifically, we can look here at a long white building that appears to be untouched. And obviously the U.S. picked its targets very carefully. This one was untouched. Why does it stand out to you? And what do you see with these excavators and other vehicles?
Which of the long white buildings? One of the long white buildings next to a burned out building. That's a parking cover for people to park their cars in the hot summer sun. The other big building is the building that will contain the air handling, the cooling water, and the things that must be pumped downstairs. You have 3,000 centrifuges running down there. They consume megawatts of power. You've got to get that heat out somehow. So you'll have cooling water, air conditioning, special electrical machines to make sure the electricity coming down is clean. That's what that building's for. So when you mention that there's a lot going on there, what surprises me is what is not going on there, that building remains intact. That's the key support building. And by the way, there's one building has been blown up since Americans were there. So if it's been blown up since the U.S. was there, I assume Israel blew it up.
Right. I mean, can I just ask you a question? That long building, is there any reason why they would have left it on purpose? I mean, that they wouldn't have wanted some sort of a Chernobyl nuclear disaster, so you'd leave that cooling? Or do you think that they're going to go in and follow up on it, or Israel will follow up on it and destroy it?
I would expect it to get destroyed at some point. If you go back over to Natanz, they left the same building untouched. So I think there was somewhere someone made the decision, let's get rid of the centrifuges and we don't have to worry about cooling water and air conditioning for them if we get rid of the centrifuges themselves. That must be the logic. But if you're going to take out the whole program, that building is very, very essential, and it just startles me that it's still there. There's one just like it over at Natanz. And then, by the way, there are more centrifuges at Natanz than there were at Fordo.
Wow. All right, Robert. Well, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.